for. And so we're going for it, like I said, and these guys are on board. They get it.
Strap in. The Rip City Drive with Chad Dewing starts now.
Well, every time I hear this song, I picture David Lee Roth's face and his eyes and the way he was looking directly into the camera in this video. It used to scare me when I was younger. David Lee Roth is such a free spirit. The way he would just casually look into the camera as he was licking the microphone and jumping around. It's wild. All right, what's going on? Rip City Drive. Coming up on the show today, a lot of different things I want to get to. We're going to hear from Coach Prime, who had that very somber press conference today, but I admire his spirit and his confidence as he moves forward after having his bladder removed. Never had that done, don't want to have that done, but it sounds horrendous. What was his quote? I now depend on Depends. It's incredible. Coach Prime is one of those guys who I admire, and I'm glad that he's going to continue to pursue his passion of coaching and working with young men. He's very good in that role. Very good in that role. Also, Tyree Smith from K2 Sports is going to stop by. I joined his program on the television a couple of weeks ago after Dame re-signed with Portland. And so Tyree's going to jump on board, and I can introduce him to all of you out there. And then we'll head to Denver at 5:20 and talk with Ryan Edwards from 850 KOA, the flagship for the Denver Broncos. We'll check in on camp. How's Bo Nix look getting ready for year number 2? How satisfied is Cortland Sutton now that he's got his new deal? And are the Broncos primed and poised to challenge the Chiefs in the AFC West? Not to mention the LA Chargers and the upstart Raiders, who now have a head coach who's got a plan and a path and a track record of success, especially with rebuilding programs. Pete Carroll. Now, this whole Christian Wilkins thing is bizarre. It sounds to me and it smells like the Raiders were just trying to get out from underneath that deal. I have a hard time believing they're going to be able to win that with the grievance being filed by Wilkins with the NFLPA. But Pete Carroll's not messing around. He's not a spring chicken anymore. He doesn't want to sit around and wait for you to figure things out. He doesn't want to wait for guys to rehab. He's trying to win right now. There's probably a 3 to 4 year plan for Coach Pete. But, you know, it's nice to see the Raiders finally having some form of direction. And I love it, too, because in that post they put out in regard to Wilkins when they cut him, which was a surprise maneuver, they said, we are an organization committed to excellence. Really? Because you've been hot trash for almost my entire life, and you have not won a Super Bowl since the early 80s, but yet you're committed to excellence. You're a laughingstock. Now, don't get me wrong. There's a lot of things I respect about Mark Davis, but don't give me the commitment to excellence nonsense. You're a joke. How many times have you been to the playoffs over the last, 40 years? I'll wait on the answer, Raider fan. So I just get tired of that crap. Commitment to excellence, just win, baby, speed kills, all the crap that Al Davis used to say. And I respect Al Davis, too. He's one of the greatest football minds in the history of the NFL. But after a while, it's like, look, can you do something? Can you maybe win a few games? Maybe go on a playoff run? Maybe win a Super Bowl for the first time in 5 decades before you start spouting off all your nonsense? That stuff gives me indigestion. You know, there's just some things where you're like, where are the Rolaids at? Raider fans and their myopia, and then a bunch of big words that mean nothing because the franchise has been a joke for so long, it makes me sick. I want to gag. Commitment to excellence, just win, baby. Now, I will say this. When you start hiring guys like Tom Brady and Pete Carroll, then I start to believe that maybe you care a little bit more about winning. And they actually have a professional quarterback in Geno Smith. But Pete Carroll's not messing around. And by the way, what's wrong with kissing somebody on the forehead or the head? I wish I got greeted with a kiss occasionally. Oh, Chad, nice to see you. What's really bizarre to me is that one of his teammates who was offended by the kiss or the attempted kiss, reported it to HR. Well, when did football players start reporting each other to HR? I haven't been in an NFL locker room lately, but my guess is there's HR violations going on everywhere. That'd be my guess. Why are you here? Christian tried to kiss me. What? I'll get to that story as well. But you can reach out 503-248-0620. Today's kind of messy. I had a couple of nuclear bombs dropped on me about 15 minutes before the show. One person came in the studio, which resulted in a phone call I had to make, and that resulted in more nonsense. I love that timing. The best part about being in radio is that everyone else that works in the building that's not on a station, they have no idea what's going on. They just come in, they start talking. They don't care about show prep. They don't care about timing or what guests you got coming up. They don't care about none of that. Oh, by the way, speaking of guests, on Wednesday, basically the college football tetragrammaton, Phil Steele is going to be on the show on Wednesday. I look forward to it once a year, but because he's associated with ESPN, I'm only able to access him during the off season. So it's always nice to catch up with Phil. We'll talk with him and get a full preview on the upcoming football season. That's going to be nice, and I'm looking forward to it. Dave Deckard's going to be on the show tomorrow. And then coming up on Friday, I ran into him at Pup City yesterday. He had sent me a couple of pictures. I didn't run into him, but he sent me a picture. He's like, Chad, I was hoping I would run into you. But Jack Stanley, who was one of the scab quarterbacks on the Washington Redskins back in 1987, he got a Super Bowl ring presented to him, which is pretty cool. He's going to stop by and come in studio on Friday. He's also been a local business owner for a number of years. So Jack Stanley will be in studio on Friday. But Pup City was great yesterday. I went down with Puppy Shots. It kicked off at 10 o'clock, so we got down there a little bit before 10. And like usual, leave Vancouver, and it looks like the drive's going to be nice and smooth heading into downtown, right up by the Rose Quarter, until there's a bridge lift. Again, I'll ask the question, who were the ad wizards that came up with a drawbridge idea on a major interstate? You've got to be kidding me already. I don't know how many times I have to say it. Why? Why would you want to put a drawbridge on a major interstate? And I love it, too, because every time it stops, you see like one boat go by with one pole that needs to get through the bridge. That boat takes priority over like all the cars that are trying to get over into town. Make that make sense. It's like, what are we doing here? Why are you doing this? Oh, my gosh. One of these days, I don't know what it's going to be, but it's going to be one of these little things that I've told you about many a times. It could be a phone call gone bad on the radio show. It could be a bridge lift on I-5. But one of these things is going to cause me to just keel over and die. Like, I'm just going to be done. There's going to come a point where my body and my mind's going to be like, we're done with this, man. We don't need bridge lifts anymore. We don't need people not fixing their ball marks on the green anymore. We don't need any of this. I actually thought about this morning. Some of you younger people out there may not know this, but back in the day, they used to use public shaming to try and prevent you from doing dumb things. Bad check writing. And again, most of you don't know what a check is, but you actually used to have this little piece of paper, a stack of papers that you would keep in your wallet or your purse, and you would actually write out on this little piece of paper the business that you were paying the money to. And you'd write out the exact amount. It's called a check. It's an archaic system that we don't use now thanks to technology. But what would happen is that because it was a check, you could pass a bad check because you hand them the check, but they had no way to check and see if the money was in your account. You know, a debit card pretty much will, you either have the money or you don't. And if you don't, you're going to get declined. But with a check, you could pass bad checks. So what they would do when you passed a bad check is they would take that thing and they would mount it up on the wall. It was like the wall of shame. And I think it's the greatest thing ever. You could go into a business, a restaurant, or it'd be a store, and they would have a wall of shame for people that pass bad checks. Now, in today's world, because we don't believe in discipline and people can do whatever they want, it would probably be considered insensitive. But back in the day, that's what they did. I want to start taking pictures like mugshots of all these clowns out of the golf course that don't fix their ball marks on the green and then plaster it up on the wall. So right when you walk in the clubhouse, you can look over at the wall of shame at all these buffoons and jabronis that are not fixing their ball marks. Maybe that would solve it. Maybe these businesses They're trying to out the bad check writers had it right all along. Let's just create a wall of shame. And we could do that here at the station. If you barge in right before a show because you have no clue of what's going on, I'm going to make a wall. I'll just start taking pictures of you and posting up on the wall. And then maybe we can have some peace and quiet. And no one cares about the conversation Brendan and I were having. So anyways, these are just ideas that are going through my mind. But Pup City was awesome. Props to the Trailblazers. Props to Tavo. And props to One Tail at a Time. There are a lot of dogs down there. And as I thought, Puppy Shot's not too interested in the other dogs. He lives alone. He operates with humans. So the dogs are he checks them out. He only got like 1 or 2 butt sniffs in. I feel like that's on the low level for a dog. I'm not a dog, but that's kind of what I thought. So anyways, Puppy Shots was down there. My man Tony and Boring came down with his dog Milo. Milo's like a giant compared to Puppy Shots. And Milo, when he pulls off the side of the trail, for a little pit stop for a number 2, it's sizable. There's a lot of work involved in that because Milo is like a horse and Puppy Shots is tiny. But it was great. Casey Holdaw was down there. He's an animal lover. But that was a good time. Nice little short walk. Puppy Shots got a little nap in on the park bench outside of Moda before we took off. So it was a good time. So there you go. I think we should do the wall of shame. And I know a lot of you are on board with me too. Think about the things that annoy you and how people need to be outed for their bad behavior. Excuse me, why are you not fixing your ball mark? You're just going to leave that there? I used to keep a list at the old station I worked at for people that would enter the restroom, take care of business, and then not wash their hands. And it was like one of those things where I'm like, should I say something to them? Wait a second, you're just going to walk out? I see that kind of stuff all the time. It's like, what are we doing here? No offense, but could you please wash your hands? Because you're going to be touching and handling the same things I'm touching and handling. I don't feel like I'm asking too much. Just, can you do something with that? Good gracious. All right, 503-248-0620. I want to get to Coach Prime. We're going to hear from Coach Peril. Right? Raiders head coach Pete Peril. We'll get to him. He had some good comments on a philosophy, and he's pretty excited. And you know what's great about his voice? Like, he's annoying with the floppy hair and the gum chewing. Like, that bothers me. But what I like about him is that he loves football. He loves coaching. No one loves coaching like Pete Carroll does. All right, 503-248-0620. You can join on YouTube with the live stream, youtube.com, Rip City Radio 620. And you can always listen and podcast on our free iHeartRadio app. You got the Rip City Drive on your home of the Trailblazers, 620 Rip City Radio. All right. And to make everyone out there feel better about themselves, I got blasted with a speeding ticket on Friday night. This happens every 5 years where I'll get away with my driving habits for about 5 years and then I get destroyed. So I've been pulled over twice now in like the last 2 months. The first time I escaped danger because the police officer was very nice and allowed me to take this course. But the problem is with the course, I completed it, no issue. But I'm doing an online appearance with the judge and the police officer. The directions they send you, leave it to bureaucracy to always screw it up, man. They sent me a couple of sheets in the mail. It is so confusing to figure out how I'm supposed to connect and be a part of that. It's coming up in early September. I had to send a separate email requesting a link where I can attach a file, which is my completion certificate of the course. I have no idea if it's going to work. Very confusing. So I was back and forth with the emails. That's coming up in September. And the reason why I was upset is that I felt like I was getting over on life. I switched insurance companies for my car insurance because I thought, man, this price I'm paying is a little bit too high and it's unacceptable. So I found same coverage, different company, and I was saving like 80 to 90 bucks a month. Absurd. Like $94. And then, of course, I turned right around and get a ticket, which could cause the premiums to go up. Very unfortunate. But I had just left Spirit Mountain Casino, and I was going up the safety corridor, probably about 3 minutes north of where the casino sits. And it was one of those situations where we were coming up on the end of a 2-lane that was going to turn into a 1-lane. And I had this truck behind me, and I think it was driven by a guy that was trying to compensate for his lack of the lower half by the way he was driving. So I sped up so I could get over on the right and let him go by. And I didn't see this cop at all. It came out of nowhere, lasered me. I got pulled over, and I was like, dang it, I did it again, you idiot. What were you doing? I let the truck bully me into going too fast, and this cop nailed me. And much to my surprise, I rolled down the window, got my registration, insurance, and driver's license ready. And I looked over, and it's the most beautiful cop I ever seen in my life. I mean, she was smoking hot.
Of course.
She was smoking hot. And she was very professional. But I knew in a nanosecond that I had no chance of getting out of that unscathed. Like, that's how quick it was. I looked at her. We made eye contact. I was like, whoa. Okay. What are you doing down here in the valley? She was amazing. She's like, why were you speeding? And I tried to explain, and then she disappeared for about 10 minutes and came back with the ticket. Nice little $256 mistake on my part. That was really nice. Not painful at all. And it's not the ticket I'm worried about. The $256 is one thing, but I know what's going to happen is that the insurance company might get a little squirrely on me and decide to raise my rates. And it's well-deserved because I am a moron. It is amazing to me how I've made it to almost 50 years of age with the decision-making process that I have. Not the smartest guy in the block. Anyways, that's how that went. I just got shot down in flames. But I've learned, I don't try to, what can you do? What can you do? Sometimes you're like, yeah, I'm done. And you know you're guilty and you're done. You just got to take it. It is what it is, which is a dumb line, but sometimes it's very accurate. Oh, my gosh. There's times where I just want to be like, what are you doing? It's like missing a 4-foot putt. It's like, you moron. Sometimes my internal conversation is not what I would call positive, but it's because I'm always getting myself into a tangled mess. Let's just put it that way. But I didn't know cops. I mean, it was like a movie. It's like, whoa. I mean, it was, okay. It actually felt better, I guess, from the standpoint that I've never seen a cop look that good in my life. Amazing to me. All right, 503-248-0620 is your telephone number. You can reach out. I want to play a couple of clips from Coach Prime at Colorado. I know a lot of you, look, I understand. For whatever reason, a lot of you don't like Coach Prime. You think he's a phony. You don't like all the talk and all the pizzazz and the way he goes about his business. I understand. You didn't like him when he was a player because he would be really good at his job and then he would rub it in his opponent's face. the way he carried himself, and trying to develop young men that can become a valuable part of society. What's wrong with that? What's wrong with that? He might even be like Christian Wilkins and try to kiss his players on their head occasionally. I have no idea. I just know I'm a big fan of Coach Prime. But he's been dealing with some health issues, and apparently it was discovered on one of his scans. He was going through his regular scans because he's had blood clot issues, and he's had a couple of toes removed. Again, not something I ever want to experience, having toes removed. That's pretty crazy. But he was going through the scan, and then his primary care came up with a tumor in his bladder, and he had that removed. And he was pretty passionate at the press conference today about, you need to get checked out. And that spoke right to me because I don't want to get checked out. I don't want to go to the doctor. I don't like being at the doctor. I don't want to get checked out. I don't want the information. Like, there's a lot of things I don't want to do. And going to the doctor is one of them. I'm like most guys in that department. Like, I've got this big mole. Let me give you an example. Out of nowhere, right on the side below my lat, on my left side, this mole came in. And it's one of the biggest moles in the history of all moles. It is hideous. It's not like Cindy Crawford's mole. This thing is big and gargantuan. I know it needs to be removed. I know I need to make an appointment at the dermatology clinic. But I keep putting it off. Why? Because I'm a moron, as I just explained about 5 minutes ago. But Coach Prime's like, you got to get checked out. Do it. Get on it.
Get checked out. Because it could have been a whole nother gathering if I had. I'm thankful. It's been a tremendous journey. It's been tough. I think I dropped 25 pounds. I was like a Atlanta Falcon Prime at one point, and just dealing with the catheter, dealing with all the stuff that I had to deal with. And right now I'm still dealing with going to the bathroom. Like, it's a whole life change. Like, I can't, and I'm gonna be transparent, I can't pee like I used to pee. It's totally different. And she not only is a blessing, but she provided other persons that have gone through what I've gone through so that I could talk to them and get some solace and understand like what I'm facing, not just from a doctor, but from another individual. And the half that hadn't been told, like, it's a totally different life. I mean, thank God. I depend on depend. If you know what I mean. I truly depend on depend. Like, I cannot control my bladder. So I get up to go to the bathroom already 4 or 5 times a night, but then I'm sitting up there waking up, like my grandson. We in the same thing. We got the same problem right now. We going through the same trials and tribulations. We're trying to see who has the heaviest bag at the end of the night. Like, it's ridiculous. But I'm making a joke out of it, but it's real. Like, it is real, it is real, it is real. So if you see porta potty on the sideline, it's real, okay? I'm just telling you right now, you're gonna see it. You're gonna see the practice, you're gonna see one, because it is unbelievable. Like, dozing off and waking up, first thing I'm grabbing my crotch to see if I peed on myself. And it's just totally different. And I know there's a lot of people out there going through what I'm going through and dealing with what I'm dealing with. And let's stop being ashamed of it. And let's deal with it. And let's deal with it head on. And there's so many other companies out there that do a wonderful job, but I'm thankful that, we have a relationship with Depend, and we're making some other products, trying to make other products that to help all of us through. But it's been tremendous.
There you go. There's Coach Prime. I mean, that's pretty open and transparent to talk about those things that are uncomfortable. But I'm glad he's doing it because there are people, like he said, going through the same thing he's going through. And it's going to help some of those people with the fact that Coach Prime's talking about it. I mean, heck, if Coach Prime, if they came out with a special line of Depends, like the Coach Prime Depends, I might buy those. I wore his Nikes back in the day. They were freaking awesome. Wow. The cancer is the devil. It's scary, very scary. But it sounds like they were able to take care of it. They got it out of there. They just removed the whole bladder, which I think took care of the whole problem. Now, of course, he was asked the ultimate question, and Troy Rank of the Denver Post asked him about whether or not he was concerned that he wouldn't be able to coach or if he knew that he might not be able to come back. Here's what Coach Prime had to say.
I always knew I was going to coach again. I never didn't realize I was going to coach again. I was always going to coach. It was never in my spirit, in my heart, that God wouldn't allow me to coach again. That's never thought like that. You know, it's just that I didn't want to be running down to the hospital once a week when I got all this on my plate. I didn't want that. And I was even like, okay, can they bring one of the machines and put them in the office? You know, I'm serious, like a dead serious. Like,
we had a lot of conversations.
There were a lot of conversations.
Yeah.
And Doc would look at me like, he is crazy.
No.
I saw it in your eyes. He is crazy. Is he like this when he coached? Yeah. But we worked it out.
Yeah. I think part of the reason why he elected to have the bladder removed is because he didn't want to have to deal with the constant treatments. And that would have been the other option. Now, my brother right now, Chris, he lives in Georgia. He's a park ranger somewhere out in the woods, but it's a perfect job for him. He loves it. He's going through cancer right now, stage 4. I just found that out the other day. I didn't know it was as bad as it is. But he's dealing with the same thing. You know, chemo, the treatments. Awful. Absolutely awful. But I like Coach Prime. And a lot of people thought when his son, Shador, and Shiloh and Travis were gone, he was going to bolt and take off elsewhere. But yet here he is, after having his bladder removed, he's still coaching at Colorado. That's cool. I think he's doing it for the right reasons. I think his motivations and his reasoning for coaching is pure because he cares about young men and he wants to develop them. And he got into coaching for the right reasons. You've heard me say it time and time again. You know, during the social unrest with the pandemic, you know, he saw a lot of vitriol going across social media. And he thought, you know what, instead of sitting around and pointing fingers, I'm going to get out and take action and do something about it. And that's when he got into coaching, which is cool. And I'm glad he's going to continue to coach because he's great for the game of college football. He's a big-time star. You know, his program has gotten significantly better over the last 2 years since he arrived. He's got a different way of going about business. And the cool thing about that relationship with Colorado compared to other schools, he's been given total freedom to move in and put his stamp on that program. So he can run it the way he wants, doesn't have to worry about long-standing traditions you might have at other schools that have, you know, a long, long track record of success. So he's got the freedom to do it the way he wants. And there's got to be some pleasure in that. It's got to be intoxicating to be able to run a program exactly how you want with no interference. And so far, he's done a heck of a job. Now, with my brother, the hard part is my brother and I, we love each other. And I respect him. But he and I have never been close. Not that we don't like each other. It's just that we've always been separated by 3 years. He's 3 years older. We have wildly different interests in life. And he left to join the military right when high school was over. And from that point on, he's been on the other side of the country. So we never really had a relationship. We were never like tight, like friends. Like a lot of people I know, they're really close as sisters or brothers or brother and sister. Like they have a relationship. They talk all the time. And I've got my friends like Steve and Luke and these guys who I'm tight with and I talk to constantly. And we are like brothers. But I've never had that type of relationship with my brother. So the hard part is now, you know, he's got stage 4 cancer. He's suffering, but I don't have a real connection with him. So I don't know what to do because I don't want to reach out and sound, you know, fake, but I do care about him and want him to get better. So it's tough. The other thing I love about my brother is that, you know, he works out in the woods as a park ranger. He said one thing that he sees all the time that happens is these idiots, these real losers, they come out and they dump off a litter of pups or other animals in the woods and leave them to die because they don't want to care for them or don't have the means to care for them or whatever the case may be. So my brother has adopted various animals just throughout the course of his job and what he comes across in the park. That's crazy to me. Oh, we weren't expecting this litter of pups. What should we do? Let's drive out in the middle of nowhere and just leave them. That sounds like a good plan. Good job, morons. That's why One Tail at a Time is such a great foundation in what they're doing. They find foster homes for the dogs and then help facilitate adoptions so that these dogs can have a home and not be euthanized. That is good work. And so my brother, he loves animals too. So he's been out there. He collects them. He brings them in, and he'll feed them and take care of them. But I just think that's brutal. But cancer sucks. But I'm glad Coach Prime he appears to be okay. But that's a real deal. So we might see a porta potty on the sideline. And I've got friends, you probably do too, that have gone through that. They got the old, what do they call it, the colostomy bag or whatever it is. Awful. I mean, my heart goes out to people that have to deal with that every day, or that kind of stuff every day, or the different health issues that pop up as you get older. Like my papa, he was a diabetic. Every morning and night, pricking his finger, checking his blood sugar level, taking insulin shots. Like over the course of a long period of time, that gets exhausting. He always carried around a mini pack of M&Ms in his pocket in case his blood sugar got too low. And we were always told as kids, keep an eye on Papa. Remind him about the M&Ms if he starts to get a little bit shaky. All right. We'll keep things rolling here. Telephone number, if you want to jump on board, 503-248-0620. You can always podcast and listen via our free iHeartRadio app. We're going to talk with Tyree Smith of K2 coming up at 4:20. And then we'll get a Broncos camp report with Ryan Edwards at 5:20. Football season right around the corner. I appreciate your time. Hope you're enjoying the Monday. We've got nothing but sunshine and warm weather coming all week. That is what I'm talking about. You got the Rip City Drive on your home of the Blazers, 620 Rip City Radio. All right, Scotty Bethune has chimed in. Oh, by the way, I was listening to some Doobies earlier this morning. Another Park, Another Sunday. That's a good summertime song right there. Scotty says, hey, Chad, I always have to be careful at work. I am a walking HR violation. Bleep spews from my mouth with zero filter. Yeah, there's a certain hazard to working with guys my entire life the way that I have in sports radio. I'm lucky if I get greeted with, what's up, ball bag, when I get into work. The stuff that is said between these walls, not normal. And so the problem is when I get out in a normal environment, I don't know how to function because I'm around guys all day. And working with guys is not bad because guys, by and large part, not every guy, but most guys, if there's an issue or some type of conflict, we have a way of resolving it quickly. Like, dude, don't be an a-hole. Come on, man. What's up? Don't be a P. All right, I'm sorry. And then you move on. No grudges, no issues. That's just the way we roll. But not like a typical normal work environment. So a bit weird. But I get you, Scotty. I feel you, my friend. Oh, by the way, I came across this note someone sent over to me. I don't know if you're aware of this, but I'm fascinated by it. And it's why I'm basically Ace Ventura in my backyard or on the golf course. I feed all animals. According to a study that's been going on since 2006 at the University of Washington, crows can hold a grudge against a human for up to 17 years. 17 years. It remembers if you're mean to them, if you've tried to pick them off with a pellet gun, if you didn't let them have something to snack on, they can hold a grudge for up to 17 years. I think I'll keep feeding them on the golf course. That's amazing to me. Those birds, they're a lot smarter than we think. That crow is a lot smarter than my dog. 17 years? This old guy, Dan Dunning, that I play with on a regular basis in the mornings, he's like a fascinating guy. He's close to 80. He was in the Air Force. He flew for UPS his entire career. He's an airline pilot. And he's just a great old school guy. Giant cigar, lit up and ready to roll with a black cup of coffee before 7 a.m. And he was really happy this morning. He was striping it well, putting well. He was playing good golf this morning. He also informed me that since April, he's gained $500,000 in his 401k because of the market rise. So he's very happy. But he is not nice to crows. And so, Dan, I warn you, man, they can hold a grudge against you for 17 years. They always swoop into his golf cart, and they try to fly with his bag of McDonald's. He always gets like a sausage McMuffin or whatever he gets. And the problem is he hadn't eaten any of the muffin, and they tried to fly away with the bag, but it was too heavy. And he was trying to shoo him away with a club. They're not going to forget that, man. They're going to be very upset with you. So watch it. 17 years. I mean, that's longer than most women that I know. 17 years holding a grudge. That's psychotic. Crazy crow. All right. I watched Happy Gilmore 2 on Friday night. As I told you I was going to. I got home. I took care of all the little details I needed to take care of. I prepared my meal, and it was a good meal. And I sat down and watched the entire movie. Now, I'm not going to give away any spoilers for those of you who have not watched it yet. If I was giving it a ranking out of 10 stars, I would say it's a 6 out of 10. It's not the original. It's not fabulous or outstanding, but yet it's not a complete disaster. I was afraid it was going to be a complete disaster, like Dumb and Dumber, the sequel to that one. But it was good. I was entertained. The premise of the movie's a little bit wild and crazy. There are some awesome cameos from a variety of different people. Some of the golfers that were in the film are awesome. I thought Adam Sandler did a very good job. And there's also a bigger message that's being given throughout that I think is a worthwhile battle that I think is good. So there are a lot of good parts to the movie. I guess what I'm trying to say is it's not terrible. And I would encourage you to watch it and check it out. You're not going to hate it. It's not going to be a waste of your life. It's not what a lot of these sequels are. It was good. Entertaining. Definitely entertaining. Not as great as I wanted it to be, but it was good. But the amount of cameos, truly remarkable. Paige Spiranek is in the movie. Her appearance was very nice. Very enjoyable. So I encourage you to watch it. Very good. Brendan told me he has not seen the movie yet. When are you going to watch it? And why have you waited to watch it until now?
I've just been busy. Haven't had the time to carve out. I was at the river a couple times this weekend, but either tonight or tomorrow night for sure. I'll get into it. My brother watched it. I want to say Saturday, and to your point, he liked it. Said the cameos were a little overboard, but showed me a couple scenes, and it was definitely pretty entertaining.
No question. Also, my man Tony, he sent me a text. Here's what it said. Industry-leading performance with advanced false alert filtering. Dual antennas provide 360-degree protection and directional threat detection. Check it out now. And so I clicked on the link, and it's one of those laser detectors. His point was very simple. You drive way too much to not have protection. And I agree. We all need a little protection from time to time, don't we? It's not a bad idea. I don't know why I haven't done it. And I'm not like a chronic speeder. There's just times when I speed. I don't know. I shouldn't have let that truck bait me into hammering the accelerator. And the worst part is I wish I would have had the 360-degree protection that this little device provides because I didn't see that cop at all. I don't even know where she came from. I have no idea. But I finally came up with the name that she reminds me of. Stacy Sheridan from the old TV show TJ Hooker. Stacy Sheridan. Those who know, know. You know what I'm talking about. Never been pulled over by a cop like that. Close once in Tualatin. But it was not Stacy Sheridan. Let's just put it that way. Oh, dang it. Can't believe I got tagged. Didn't even see it coming until I looked up and saw the lights right behind me. It's like, where'd they come from? But it was some type of speed trap because they had multiple cars pulled over. Just boom, 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 just picking us off like the dodo birds that we were. All right, 503-248-0620. We'll talk with Tyree Smith coming up at 4:20. I want to get into Pete Carroll and let you know what's going through his dome as he gets ready for a brand new team, a brand new season with the Las Vegas Raiders. And we'll definitely get into Christian Wilkins being cut. Not sure the Raiders have a good stand or standing on firm ground with trying to deny him the $35.2 million owed to him. But apparently a teammate was offended when he tried to kiss them on the head. Maybe it was just a good brotherly kiss. I have no idea. But Christian Wilkins is a large man. If he wanted to kiss my head, I'd be like, here, man, pick your spot, buddy, wherever you want. Well, I'm not going to turn you down. Christian Wilkins is a very strong human being. All right, you got the Rip City Drive here on your home of the Blazers, 620 Rip City Radio. All right, 4 o'clock. Coach Prime, Deion Sanders, said today he underwent surgery to remove his bladder after a tumor was discovered, but will continue to coach from the NFL. The Broncos have locked up their top wideout, agreeing on a 4-year, $92 million extension with Cortland Sutton. We'll go to Denver and talk with Ryan Edwards at 5:20. In addition to being cut, Adam Schefter is reporting that Christian Wilkins tried to kiss a teammate on the forehead last week, and that player was offended and reported the incident to HR with the Raiders. Wilkins has filed a grievance with the NFLPA as the Raiders are trying to avoid the $35.2 million owed on his contract extension. Luka Doncic tells Men's Health that his body looks much better after 2 months of training with intermittent fasting and high levels of protein. The Mariners open up the day 4 games back in the West, half game out in the wild card. They're in Sacramento tonight against the A's. 7:05 first pitch. Luis Castillo gets the call for Seattle. See, now I've got people suggesting that if I had guts or cojones like Coach Prime to talk about his cancer the way he did, that I would have asked for a photograph of the police officer that pulled me over. The one that looks like Officer Sheridan from TJ Hooker. Now, how would that conversation go? After she gives me the ticket, do I say, hey, do you mind if I get a selfie with you? Excuse me, officer. You're the hottest officer that I've ever seen. I'm not sure what you're doing in Polk County, but do you mind if I take a selfie with you? Like, how does that go? And then what's the result of that question going to be? Does she arrest me or does she just politely decline? What are the odds that she would have said yes? 0? Especially when she's standing on the side of 18. Very safe area, by the way. Oh, by the way, if you get pulled over on 18, good luck getting back on. Like, that doesn't take 20 minutes with all the cars coming by. And what I hate is when you pull out on the road and the cop's right behind you. And so, of course, your hands are at 10 and 2, and you're going, like, right at the number, 55. And you're just praying for the moment that they pull off or turn around or do whatever they're doing. Or you just drive out of their jurisdiction. Oh, my goodness. Whatever. That's all I got to say about that. I was wrong. They were right. I deserve what I deserve. She did say her body cam was on. She did tell me that. But I did not ask for a photograph. I don't think I'll ever do that. Ever. I just try to be polite and follow instruction. And if they ask me why I was speeding, I told her exactly why. Well, I had that truck coming up on me pretty fast, so I wanted to speed up and get around the car on the right so I could pull over. It didn't work. But that was the honest truth. But they were motivated to give tickets that night. They had the whole trap set up and everything. Oh, well. If I had the 360 protection, I would have been okay. Didn't even see him. Just bam, bam. You're done. You're done. I knew I was done. I think I may have said that as I was pulling over on the side of the road. Now I'm done. Oh, well. All right. I want to listen to Pete Carroll. I guess we'll listen to Pete Carroll. My dad is annoyed by Pete Carroll. Mostly because of Super Bowl 48, but years and years of the floppy hair and the gum chewing my dad can't take it anymore. He just can't take it. That's all. I respect Pete Carroll. I like him a lot. I think he loves coaching. I think he's got great energy. I think he connects with people really well. But most importantly, he's got convictions. I believe that in order to be a great coach, you have to have a strong set of convictions, and you've got to be willing to stick to them no matter what. And the best coaches have strong convictions. Bill Parcells, Bill Belichick, Mike Shanahan, all the great coaches I've grown up watching. Nick Saban, who might be getting back into coaching, potentially, maybe. Lane Kiffin floated that idea out there. You got to have great convictions, and you got to have a plan. You know, Pete Carroll, say what you want, but the guy's got a plan, and he's got a proven track record of success. And he's got, great energy. And here he is talking about that.
Yeah, I was taught a long time ago that you either have a philosophy or you don't, and we have one. But the philosophy is affected by the people, and how they adapt to it and how they make it come to life and all that. And that's what this process. So my biggest challenge is to give them the ways that we believe we can play our football, but then let it become theirs. And so it's really a fun challenge, and it's why I'm so charged up. And I've been a little bit fired up since I've been here. I know that. I know you might have seen that or not. But each practice is an opportunity for us. Each day is a statement of who we are, what we're all about. Are we there again? Are we consistent? Are we battling? And so it's a coach's dream to have an opportunity like this, really. And so the fellows are responding in a way that's making it really fun. And we're going to get past a couple days from now. We'll really start to bring it.
Keep in mind, that guy's 73 years old. It's like, settle down, Pete. His energy, like, he couldn't get it all out fast enough. He's so excited to have another opportunity to coach again. I don't think he wanted to quit coaching the Seattle Seahawks, but he was forced out. And now he's got an opportunity with the Raiders. And it's the perfect situation because he can go in and do the typical Pete Carroll reclamation project. Rebuild, provide direction, stability. He's a winner, and he knows what he's doing. And he's on top of things. Get a lot of respect for Pete Carroll. He also went on about the excitement, the anticipation about the upcoming season.
We have extremely high expectations. I don't even know any other way to think. And I don't care what year it is or what team it is. It doesn't matter to me. This is either going for it or you're not. And we're going for it. And whatever that means at the end of it, we'll find out. But in the meantime, there is no standard that we can set high enough that we can't challenge for. And so we're going for it, like I said, and these guys are on board. They get it. Yeah, I was taught a long time ago that you either have a philosophy or you don't, and we have one. But the philosophy is affected by the people, and how they adapt to it and how they make it come to life and all that. And that's what this process. So my biggest challenge is to give them the ways that we believe we can play our football, but then let it become theirs. And so it's really a fun challenge, and it's why I'm so charged up. And I've been a little bit fired up since I've been here. I know that. I know you might have seen that or not. But each practice is an opportunity for us. Each day is a statement of who we are, what we're all about. Are we there again? Are we consistent? Are we battling? And so it's a coach's dream to have an opportunity like this, really. And so the fellows are responding in a way that's making it really fun. And we're going to get past a couple days from now. We'll really start to bring it.
In coaching terms, they went from what? Josh McDaniels and Antonio Pierce to Pete Carroll. That's like having a Yugo one day and then jumping in a Ferrari the next. Pete Carroll is a terrific coach. And the Raiders, you're going to see it right away. They're going to be smarter. They're going to be more sound. They're not going to be doing a bunch of dumb things out there in the football field. Like, Pete Carroll will have them playing good football, winning football, because he knows what he's doing. And they have made an effort to bring in veteran players, guys who know how to win, guys who know what Pete Carroll wants to accomplish, who will have the ability to go out and execute the way he wants them to. That's why he brought in Geno Smith. And that's a franchise that desperately needs it. We all know the Raiders have been mostly a laughingstock for like the last 40 years, pretty much. But Pete Carroll is a winner, and he's had great success at multiple stops. So he's one of those guys, annoying, but yet I respect his game. He's really good. And that AFC West is tough. You've got the Kansas City Chiefs that look like they're going to win the division every year that Patrick Mahomes plays quarterback for them. You've got the Chargers, who've got a great coach in Jim Harbaugh and a great quarterback in Justin Herbert. You have the Broncos, who won 10 games last year, going into year number 2 with Bo Nix, probably the best defense in the NFL. And then you've got the Raiders, who finally have stability and smarts on the sideline with Pete Carroll. And you got Tom Brady chiming in with his input and intel and the wealth of experience and winning that he brings to the organization. They're in a good spot. I can't deny it. They are. Now, who's that guy, Nick Wright? Nick Wright drives you crazy for 2 takes. One, he's always selling the idea that LeBron James is the greatest basketball player of all time. Now, we all know that's not true because it's Michael Jordan, but he's always out there spewing the LeBron nonsense. But he came out and said that, oh, yeah, the AFC West is going to have 3 playoff teams. The Broncos aren't one of them. I can tell you right now with certainty that Denver will end the year with more wins than the Raiders. The Broncos are probably going to get 11 wins and will be a major player in the AFC picture. No question about it. Denver has done a heck of a job. And we'll get more intel on them coming up at 5:20. But Bo Nix, going into year number 2, is going to be a better player, a more confident player who's going to be getting the football out on time and on target because of the work he has put in and now the experience he has with 1 year under his belt. I still like the Chiefs to win the division because they have Patrick Mahomes. That's pretty much the answer to everything with Kansas City. Who's got Patrick Mahomes? Oh, the Chiefs do? Yeah, I'll pick them. But the gap is closing now. And the AFC West is probably the best division in all of football. And look at the coaches. Andy Reid, Jim Harbaugh, Sean Payton, and Pete Carroll. Without having gone through every division in my lifetime, that's got to be the best group of coaches in one division in the history of the NFL. Andy Reid, Pete Carroll, Sean Payton, Jim Harbaugh. It's got to be. Can you find 4 better coaches in one division? It's absurd. Which means you're going to play 6 games a year against elite coaching, meaning you better be prepared, you better have a plan, and you better know what the heck you're doing. Because the guy who's roaming around on the other sideline knows what they're doing. But I love that type of competition. And we always hear fans talk about, well, why would he choose that division? It's so tough. Or why would he go to that conference? See, coaches who coach at the highest level and athletes that compete at the highest level, they don't look at situations the way that you and I do. They're not looking for the easiest path or the path of least resistance. They want to compete and challenge themselves against the best. And that's what makes them great. I wish I was built like that, but that's a good division. So Raider fans, you should at least take solace in the fact that you finally have an adult head coach. Josh McDaniels is a disaster, a walking train wreck of a head coach. Crazy. And he's horrible with people. And Antonio Pierce was just a bad hire because Mark Davis got talked into it by the players. You can pretty much write that one down. Anytime a bunch of players clamor for a guy because he's a player's coach, that is a red flag that you don't want to sign that guy as your head coach. Of course players want to play for a guy like Antonio Pierce because the vets know he's not going to kill them in practice. They're going to get away with more, and they're going to be on easy street. Why wouldn't a player want that? We all love bosses like that. But even pro athletes need discipline. They need someone to push them. And they need someone like Pete Carroll with conviction to show them what it takes to win. And especially with the franchise, it's been a laughingstock and a joke for so long. You need someone like Pete Carroll to come in and change the way you think and do everything. That's what it's all about. All right, when we come back, Tyree Smith from K2 Sports will join us. We'll get his take on Dame coming back, get his feel on the upcoming college football season, and find out what he's all about. You got the Rip City Drive with Chad doing on your home of the Blazers, 620 Rip City Radio. All right, what a pleasure it is to welcome to the show for the first time a gentleman who does sports for K2 and is closely connected and around the Portland Trailblazers at all times. Tyree Smith joins the Rip City Drive. Tyree, good afternoon. Thanks for coming on.
Chad, I appreciate you. First of all, I always get you on. It's about time I'm able to give you back the little favor, my friend. I appreciate you so much.
No, it's been a long time coming. I'm glad you're here. So I want people to kind of understand where you came from. So you're not like me, you're not a Northwest native. I grew up in Oklahoma, but you grew up, you're from the Midwest. Is that correct?
I went to school in the Midwest. You got part of it right. Grew up on the East Coast, Florida, West Palm Beach to be exact.
Wow, I love that. What was it like growing up in Florida? The sunshine had to be nice.
Chad, let me tell you something about growing up in Florida. You know about the sunshine. You live in the beach, and you never actually go to the beach. That's basically what it's like. I mean, grew up there. Yeah, I grew up there my whole life, and then went to college in the Midwest because I was trying to get out of Florida. I love it as much as the next person, but when you've been there your whole life, you gotta switch it up a little bit, right?
Yeah,
so that's the deal. And then coming over to Portland was definitely a switch up as well because I came from a hometown station over there, and I don't plan on going back anytime soon.
Okay, I got you. Now, you know, it's funny. One of the good friends of the show is Brad Bakken of CBS Sports, who covers the NBA, and he lives down in Florida. And he keeps telling me every time he comes on about the gecko problem, about how there's so many of them, they're all around. They get on your house, they chew up the roof, and so he's always got the pellet gun looking to take out a gecko. He said they're violent little creatures. Did you have that issue too?
I don't know. I think he just made some of them mad. I'm gonna be honest with you, Chad. I don't got a gecko problem. I mean, there's iguanas. I think it's cold enough in Florida. You will see falling iguanas, but I don't have geckos waiting for me outside. If that's what it sounds like, I don't know. I don't know what part of Florida he's in, but I don't have a gecko problem.
That's good to know. But one thing to keep in mind, we were just talking about this. I came across this study that started back in '06 up at University of Washington, and it's a good reminder to take care of the birds when you're out there on the golf course. But apparently crows, check this out, Tyree, they can hold a grudge against a human for 17 years.
You know what? That makes sense. We don't treat crows right. That makes about right. We don't treat them right. We always see them as a bad sign, and they looking at us like, they don't seem as bad, but I understand why they hold a grudge. I would too.
That's great. So what was it like for you when you had the opportunity to come out to Portland and make the jump out to the Northwest, a place where you hadn't been before? What was the transition like?
It was fairly smooth. One, I think it was just because I was very open. When you're moving across the country, I feel like you have to have that type of mindset to be open to something new. And I knew Portland was very different from the Florida area. I knew that from the jump, from the basketball to the sports, the MLS. I knew everything about this place was different. When I first visited, I didn't realize how nice and welcoming and just how different in all the right ways it was. And so since I moved and I went to Midwest in college, moving was definitely a little easier than maybe it would be for someone that hasn't. So I kind of figured it out. I talked to a couple of people already. I came to my station and I previewed, and they kind of gave me the lowdown in the area. So to be honest with you, moving cross country sounds like it'd be very hectic, but this was actually one of the more smoothest transitions I've had into culture. Listen, I wasn't a Miami Heat fan already, so it was really good to come on and be a Blazers fan now. I mean, it all just kind of went down real smoothly and such. And now I've been here, I want to say, about maybe a year and 6 months or so, starting November 2023, and here we are now.
That's great. So what have you noticed, different parts of the country, the sports fans and what's important to people, it changes based on which part of the country you're in. What are your thoughts on the landscape sports-wise here in the Northwest?
Authenticity. I will tell you that for a fact. In Florida where you have all those major sports. You got the MLB, NHL, NFL, you got MLS. I mean, you got NWSL. You have it all there. And so one of the things that I was really appreciative of around here is how much all of the fans genuinely care about the sports teams, whether it's the Winterhawks, that's playing on just a random Wednesday night, or if it's the Thorns that haven't won a game all season, but the crowd is still there. You don't see that type of truth and authenticity with fan bases around. And I speak on Florida as an example because there's so much. That authenticity isn't really there. You think they're still talking about that Stanley Cup that they just won a couple of weeks ago? No, they're already moving on to the Dolphins and things of that sort. But around here, the truth and how much these fans genuinely appreciate the players was so eye-opening and welcoming. I haven't seen that. I haven't seen that, which is definitely what helps make this place special.
You know, Tyree, one of the stories you got a chance to cover not too long after you had boots on the ground here was the passing of the great Bill Walton. What jumped out at you with all the different people you talked to in regard to what Bill means to Rip City?
You know, Bill was actually I don't know if this is a term, but a player fan that I felt like that didn't exist with Walton, and so many people, including yourself, who gave me great stories on that day, just kind of really opened my eyes. And I look back at all of the footage of Walton playing and just being in Rip City, and how there's no barrier between him and all of these fans. He was here for them, and they were there for him, supported him when he was hurt, or he supported them when the city was looking for a little pick-me-up and Blazers got a dub. I can tell you he was such a boost and such a genuine, stable, and just a genuine person. I got a chance to meet Walton, Mr. Walton, back when I was actually working at my prior station in Florida. He was there for a YMCA event, 6:50 in the morning, and the biggest smile you can have, absolutely. At 6:57 in the morning, you think people should be grumpy and cranky, and he's this guest of honor type of speaker. You wouldn't think he would want to speak to all these other guys, but he was really just welcoming to everybody, wanted to talk to me, and I actually it was so funny. I didn't think that connection would really last until now, but he was one of the warmest and nicest people I've ever met. And so coming around here and hearing those stories, it automatically just confirmed everything I already thought about him.
That's awesome. We're talking with Tyree Smith from K2 Sports here on the Rip City Drive. All right, a couple of weeks ago, you get word that Dame is coming back to Portland and re-signing with the Trailblazers. Walk me through your reaction and that day as you were trying to get, your handle on the story.
You get a good story out of this one, Chad. Listen to this. I wake up, I get off late. I was like, let's go ahead and sleep in. Let's go ahead and sleep in until probably like 10:30, 11, whatever. Nothing's going to happen by that time. Go ahead. I wake up at 10:15, Chad. About to get my coffee started, about to get the day going. And I look at my notifications. Well, I don't know why I have 10, 12 on Twitter. I'm not sure. I didn't post anything the day before. Boy, did Dame, boy, did Shams, boy, did everybody else. I looked at my phone and I looked at Twitter, and oh my goodness, my heart just started beating so fast because I was like, is this real? Is this real? He mentioned this. We mentioned this. This was talked about, but I didn't expect it so soon, and I didn't get a chance to cover Dame when he was here in Portland. So I didn't understand the Dame experience, but I knew the amount of impact he had when I had 3 missed calls from my bosses and everybody's telling me Dame is returning. That's when I knew that this was serious, and we've been able to just get a jump on it, talk to so many different sources and stuff when that was happening. And it was honestly such a fun but crazy day for sure. I mean, wasn't expected, Chad. I mean, I'm sure you can attest to that as well, at least this early. And that day was just talking to folks and fans. And I'm sure the excitement was real. I had literally a fan say he ran into the middle of the street and just yelled Dame's back. that legit just ran into the middle of the street, forgot he was at work, said he just ran and yelled Dame's back. And the entire street floor just erupted. That's the amount of impact Game Time had, and how we are still talking about it, knowing that he won't even be in a Blazers uniform potentially this season.
I love it. Yeah, it was such a great story, and so many people love him, and what it means to have him back is so good. I'm curious for you, being on the outside looking in before you got to town, what did you think of Dame and the way he would ball, before you got to Portland? Like, how did you view him as an outsider before you got to the Northwest?
He needs help. I'm not even going to sugarcoat it. Coming from East Coast guy, that was in truest in West Coast basketball, but a little more wasn't too much thinking on the Portland Trailblazers just in that type of time. But I've always looked at it, I was like, I feel like Dame needs help. When you were on the East Coast, you would hear the consistent names of Damian Lillard, C.J. McCollum, LaMarcus Aldridge, those players that were in Blazers uniforms. And I will be so honest with you, it was almost like people were making it seem like Dame didn't have help. But once I got here and once I saw the situation and I understood a little bit more, that obviously was not the case. More help was needed, but it wasn't the way that it made it seem. I'll be honest with you, Chad. On the East Coast, they made it seem like Dame was the sole player on the Blazers. That's how it felt. But when I was coming over and I was telling all the folks that got my job here in Portland, they're like, "Uh-oh, you got Scoop, and things of that sort." So the talk about it and Dame of that sort, and the way that I looked at it was, one, they were actually Blazers were very fun to watch, but the talk, you didn't hear too much about people that wasn't just Dame, which is very unfortunate because you and I'm sure other folks know that wasn't the truth. He had some help, but needed just a bit more. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, no question about it. I think a lot of people see it that way, and I understand where you're going with that. All right, college football. We got the Oregon Ducks coming up. Dante Moore is going to take over at quarterback for Dylan Gabriel. I was looking at their schedule, which appears to be very friendly, but, I mean, with the way Dan Lanning's got that program running, I see another 11-win season. I don't see why they can't be competing for a spot in that Big Ten championship. What are your thoughts on the Ducks this year?
I feel like that's almost automatic if you're coaching for the Oregon football program in 2025, having top recruiting, being top in the 2025 recruiting class, all of that sorts. I think where you look at Oregon this season compared to probably last season is they needed to truly rely on recruiting a lot more this time around. Dan Lanning said it during his Big Ten media days. There's a bunch of new faces on this team, on that roster. There's a bunch of new faces that folks probably never even heard of. So while Dante Moore, the guy that came from UCLA, is going to be taking over that starting job, still a little bit questionable because you're not entirely sure of what he can do on the field in a full-time starting role with all the pieces that he has behind him. I think this team is CFP is automatic. I think what's going to become a little bit more difficult is where will they land? Yeah, they're going to think about getting those, going undefeated and things of that sort. But, Chad, remember last season, every team that got a bye lost. And Coach Lanning talked about that as well. There has to be some strategic balance to that. You got to start thinking about, okay, how do you keep it that rhythm? Are you going to stay on that rhythm? And Dan Lanning has talked a lot about that this offseason. While people probably don't want to bring it up, that Rose Bowl game was very, very telling. And I think this program has honestly just probably lit a fire under them. I think there's going to be some fun new opponents, especially fans are going to get to see like Wisconsin and Minnesota, USC coming to town. That's going to in November is going to be such a good game. Oregon football has has the range and has what it takes to go to the National Football Championship this season, Chad. The problem is going to be that portal is just as good for every other team. And so you're going to see Penn State, you're going to see Ohio State coming back after just winning the national championship. There's going to be a lot of pathways for Oregon to go, but a lot of roadblocks. And so keep your eye out on the Big Ten specifically this year. There's going to be a lot of teams there that I think is going to come out and be in the CFP, i.e. Penn State, Indiana, Ohio State. So Oregon has it this season, but they also going to have a pretty tough hill to climb. So I don't want to give a final guess, but college football playoffs, they'll be in the playoffs for sure.
And what sports did you play in college?
Well, Chad, I am 6'5", so I was on the basketball court. Just playing. Now, I was all football and a track guy. I played football my entire life, played college running back, and then ran track all through high school and the college years. So I'm a gridiron guy through and through, but this Rip City court is taking me away from that just a little bit.
No, that's cool. I respect that. Now, I'm curious, for me, what I've noticed over the course of time covering sports is that I fall in and out of love with different sports. Like right now, college football is my number one. Sometimes it's the NBA,
Okay.
sometimes it's the NFL. But do you find that with the sports that you cover that you kind of go back and forth on what your favorite sport to cover is in the moment or based on what's going on?
Oh, 1,010%. I mean, the teams that we cover have something to do with that as well. If the Blazers have won 50 games this season and Oregon Ducks, they only won 6, I'm definitely going to be enjoying that Blazer season a lot more than I enjoyed that past Duck season. And so I think it honestly just flows with where we are and where we are in the year. I know right now I'm feeling really fired up to run through a brick wall with a helmet and some shoulder pads. But you ask me in October, I'm going to be ready to see Donovan Clingan dunk on somebody opening night. So it honestly just goes with the flow and goes kind of with where we're at right now. I'm sure that you can kind of attest that when Oregon football was raining hot in 2016 with Marcus Mariota, that's what everybody wanted to see compared to maybe the Blazers that weren't going to the finals that year. So it just really depends on what's kind of going on and what's hot. But right now, everything's pretty good right now in Rip City. If I have to say, the Timbers are doing good. Thorns are going to be coming back. And Blazers are the hottest team to be talked about right now. I mean, Oregon football coming off an undefeated season. I feel like Rip City right now, the state of Oregon is the place to be for sports.
All right, Tyree Smith covers sports for K2. You can check him out. Hey, Tyree, you got a great smile. Keep up the good work, and you're good people, and I'm so glad you came on the show, man. We got to do it again.
Chad, I appreciate you, man. We got to get you off the air. We got to go grilling or something around here before we get this football season started, my friend.
Okay, I'll be in touch. You're on, man. That sounds like a great idea.
Appreciate you, Chad. Have a good one.
You got it. There's Tyree Smith from K2. Nice to catch up with him. He's one of those guys, he's got that magnetic personality. First time I met him was down at the studios. What was I going by for? I can't remember the story, but I got called in. Bobby Corser called me down and asked if I'd do an interview. I can't remember if it was for Walton's passing or not, but that's when I had a chance to meet him for the first time. I was like, whoa, that guy's got a personality. And you can tell he's got energy for what he does. He doesn't have Pete Carroll energy, but who does? But big fan of Tyree. Telephone number 503-248-0620. We'll get a camp update with Ryan Edwards on the Broncos coming up at 5:20. Cortland Sutton is signed. That's a big deal. Number one wideout for Bo Nix. According to the camp reports, early in camp, Evan Ingram, who's now a Denver Bronco, he and Nix have formed a very good connection. He's going to be a valuable part of that Sean Payton offense. And R.J. Harvey showing some burst in pads, their rookie draft pick out of UCF, who is a very good running back. And he's got incredible quads, powerful, speed. So I think Bo Nix has got some good tools to work with. Plus, all 5 guys in the offensive line returning. And I mentioned last week how I'm freaked out this time of year because of camp, guys dropping like flies. Yeah, the injury bug is already taking place. In fact, the Broncos lost Drew Sanders for an extended period of time with some lower leg injury. I hate it, man, for all teams. I just want teams to be healthy because healthy teams mean better football, but that's just injuries are part of the game, unfortunately. But you lose one particular guy in a thin position group, you can be up against it. And then you're scouring the waiver wire, looking for young guys to step up and trying to fill that gap. Brutal. Not a fan of that. All right. So we'll talk Broncos camp at 5:20. If you want to jump on board, 503-248-0620. We'll hear from Aaron Rodgers. Terry Bradshaw is very spicy, and he has been his whole life, which is fine. Big fan of Terry Bradshaw. But Aaron Rodgers responds to the criticism from Terry. I'll play that for you next. I appreciate your time on this Monday. You got the Rip City Drive with Chad Doing on your home of the Blazers, 620 Rip City Radio. All right, you knew this was coming, but Pittsburgh Steeler great Terry Bradshaw, who has 4 Super Bowl titles to his name, has sounded off about Aaron Rodgers. And Terry Bradshaw, one of the things I've always respected about him, whether as a player or an analyst, he has never shied away from making comments. He's never shied away from telling you exactly what he thinks or how he feels about any situation. That's part of why he's been so great on TV for so long. And he's often been critical of players that I've loved. He called John Elway a big crybaby once, and I was furious. He didn't like the way Elway demanded a trade from Baltimore to Denver. He didn't like the fact that Elway was complaining about the local media in the Mile High City paying attention to what he was giving out for Halloween. And Terry Bradshaw called him out for it. Didn't like it. You know, Terry Bradshaw is a no-nonsense type of a guy. And apparently he's not a fan of the Steelers signing Aaron Rodgers. And I want you to listen to this Q&A exchange with Aaron Rodgers. Take a listen.
I'm always very amused, Aaron, by your observations of the media. Okay? Everybody's going to get a little squirrely now. Someone had a nuclear take on you. Terry Bradshaw, number 12 from the Steelers. Terry Bradshaw says, Rodgers to the Steelers. I wrote it down because I want to get it right. It's a joke. Stay in California, chew on bark, and whisper to the gods.
Well, I whisper to the gods every single day.
Damn right.
I've known Terry for a long time, being a part of Fox. Terry's a legend. He's an absolute legend. He won 4 Super Bowls. He's had a legendary career in the media. But Terry, like a lot of people, doesn't know me. And so he's got an idea of what he thinks about me based on what I've done, the documentary, what I've said, Darkness Retreat, whatever the hell you want to talk about. I'd love to get to know Terry on a deeper level. And I feel like if he gave me a chance to get to know him, then we'd have a good friendship, because for me, I have nothing but the utmost amount of respect and deference for what the greats have done, because they laid the foundation for us to be able to play in this great game, to be paid like kings, and to carry on the tradition of excellence that guys like the Bradshaws of the world in the 70s and Bart Starr in the 60s and Lombardi and Joe Montana and Steve Young and Troy Aikman and Brett Favre and all the greats that have been over, Tom Brady. You know, we're standing on the backs of those guys, and it's because of how they played and how they carried themselves that we're able to have this opportunity to still play this great game, to get paid really well, to set ourselves up for our future. So I'd love to get to know Terry on a deeper level if he's open to it, and maybe we can go chew some bark or whatever the hell he's talking about together.
All right, there's Aaron Rodgers. A terrific answer by Aaron Rodgers, because he did not take a cheap shot at Terry. Even if he was ticked off at the comments and wanted to make some type of remark, he was wise to be very careful with what he said, because Terry Bradshaw is pure gold in Pittsburgh, and rightfully so. He delivered 4 championships. What else do you want from a quarterback? I learned that real quick down in the Bay Area. If you want to speak ill will about Barry Bonds, don't do so in the city of San Francisco, because Giant fans don't want to hear it. They don't care. They will fight you. That's really what it comes down to. If you want to fight, go into San Francisco and start speaking ill about Barry Bonds. You don't want to speak ill will towards Tim Lincecum or Buster Posey or Mad Bum or Steph Curry, Joe Montana, Jerry Rice, Steve Young in the Bay Area. And every town's got those type of players, right? If you want to fight someone in Portland, start talking bad about Dame. So Terry Bradshaw is pure gold in the eyes of Steeler fans. So Aaron Rodgers didn't crack on him. He's like, hey, I would love to get a chance to know him on a deeper level. Very good answer, Aaron. And one thing you have to understand about Terry Bradshaw, he's going to share his take. He's going to have his opinions now. But what is the key? Let me ask you this. Think about the key. What is the most important thing for an athlete when it comes to silencing any type of criticism? What is it? What does a player have to do to silence the critics? Win. That's it. You win football games and you put your teammates in a position to have success, people will shut up. Then all of a sudden, all the personal issues they have about your take on this, your take on that, the way you handled that, your darkness retreats. If you win football games and you return the Steelers to greatness, no one is going to care about anything. You can go on as many darkness retreats as you want. You can chew on as much bark as you want. You can do whatever you want. It always comes back to winning. And I guarantee you, if Aaron Rodgers goes in there and elevates the Steelers and they start playing great football, Terry Bradshaw is going to have a different take on Aaron Rodgers. I like Aaron. I have no issues with Aaron whatsoever. I find him to be a little bit refreshing. He's a different type of cat. The reason why I don't care is because I don't get hung up on what someone has to say about this or that. I don't care about your political takes or your take on vaccines or whatever. You can believe whatever you want. I'm not going to hold a grudge. I'm not going to go crow on someone for 17 years because they have a different take on some political stance than what I do. But I feel like a lot of the vitriol towards Aaron Rodgers is because he's a little bit different. He has a different take on certain things than a lot of people do. And who cares? I like Aaron. I do. Now, do I think Aaron is a little bit full of himself? Yes. Do I think Aaron likes to be the smartest guy in the room? Yes. But so what? I've learned as I've gotten a little bit older, I criticize people or joke about it, but the reality is that I try not to be too critical because I too make and do a lot of the same things that I criticize people for. But Aaron Rodgers is cool. I want him to have success. And the main reason why is because, well, more good quarterback play equals more good games in the NFL. And that team can play defense. That team with Arthur Smith as their offensive coordinator can run the football. And I've said all along with Aaron Rodgers, the key for him is just understanding who he is as a quarterback today and embracing that role and realizing he doesn't have to try and do everything on his own. You know, let your teammates around you help you make the game easier. But I like their coach, and I have respected the Steelers basically my whole life as being one of the best run organizations in all of sports because they are. They draft well. They make good decisions. They don't hold on to guys for too long. They do things the right way. And they've had 3 head coaches in my lifetime. That's it. Mike Tomlin, Bill Cowher, Cowher Power, and Chuck Noll. That's it. Those are the only 3 coaches to have ever coached the Steelers since I've been around, since I was a thing. Isn't that amazing? How many franchises have that type of stability? All right, we'll keep things rolling here on the Rip City Drive. We're going to talk with Ryan Edwards and do a camp update with the Broncos coming up at 5:20 on your home of the Blazers, 620 Rip City Radio. All right, we start with football. Coach Prime announced today that he is cancer-free, underwent surgery to remove his bladder, and he's going to continue to keep coaching. From the NFL, the Broncos have locked up Cortland Sutton on a 4-year, $92 million extension. Adam Schefter reporting that Christian Wilkins tried to kiss a teammate on the forehead last week, and that player was offended, reported it to HR. Wilkins has filed a grievance with the NFLPA as the Raiders are trying to avoid the $35.2 million owed on his contract. Luka Doncic tells Men Health that he is in great shape. His body looks much better after just 2 months of training and intermittent fasting with high levels of protein. And the Mariners open up a set in Sacramento tonight against the A's. 7:05 first pitch. Luis Castillo will get the call for Seattle. Mariners 4 games back in the West, a half game out in the AL wild card. All right, quick recap for you. I watched Happy Gilmore 2. I gave it 6 out of 10 stars. It's not awful. It's not a disaster. It's not the original. There were parts of it that were a little bit odd, but I was entertained. And I've told you before, I just want to be entertained. If I'm going to sit down and take 2 hours out to relax, eat some dinner, and watch the tube, I just want to be entertained. And it was entertaining. And the cameos were great. So I'd recommend to check it out. I'm sure, like a lot of you, I was apprehensive going in because I didn't want it to be a complete abortion. But it was not. It was effective. I thought Sandler did a great job. And it's got a good underlying message throughout the movie, which was nice. And some great cameos. And a few of the golfers who were, featured in the film did a great job. Scotty Scheffler, John Daly. My big question is, why is Tiger Woods not in the movie? And if they ask him to be in the movie, why would Tiger say no? Or why would someone counsel Tiger not to be in that film? That would have been an incredible addition to have Tiger in the film. Because I have a feeling like he'd be able to laugh at himself a bit. But John Daly's amazing. He is like every guy. You and I could go hang out with John Daly right now and it'd be cool. And Scotty Scheffler does a great job of laughing at himself. He's the best golfer on the planet right now. Roy was good in the movie. Paige Spiranek was sensational in the movie, as you might expect. It was good. Really good. Not great, but good. So I would recommend you check it out. If you want to jump on board, 503-248-0620. You can always listen and podcast the show on our free iHeartRadio app, and you can watch the stream and join us in studio via YouTube. Just go to youtube.com, Rip City Radio 620. You can like and subscribe to the page. Tomorrow, we're going to have a Hops Ticket Tuesday, so I'll have another 4-pack of tickets to sit in the Rip City Radio Row out at Hillsborough Stadium. I drove by it on Sunday, and I cannot believe the progress. That new ballpark is looking nice. I was driving out to Forest Hills Golf Course on Saturday. I did the rare Saturday afternoon round of golf. I try to avoid weekend golf like the plague because of the time commitment that's involved with weekend golf. But I was able to get out and play with the marketing director from Spirit Mountain Casino. He wanted to play, and he's a Northwest guy, and he's a golfer. So we got out and played. It was awesome. I'm telling you, man, Forest Hills right now is in sweet condition. And after playing a disaster of a round on Friday, I shot my best score of the year and my best ever, personal best at Forest Hills. But it was great to take someone out there who had not been out there yet this year so they could see the changes on 16, the new tee box and everything that's set up on 17. Yeah, it's nice. Greens are in good condition, and the weather right now is just perfect. There are a few things better than a nice, soft, beautiful, fresh-cut fairway. Fresh-cut greens, fresh-cut fairways, but Forest Hills is great. And it's locally owned, and when you go there, you feel like family. So check it out, but it was awesome. But that new ballpark at Hillsborough is looking good. So you can tune in tomorrow for your chance to win tickets to go check out the Hops and sit in the Rip City Radio Row. 503-248-0620 is your telephone number. Now, I mentioned the Raiders. We were talking about Pete Carroll and having a plan, having convictions. You know, the fact that the AFC West has got the best group of coaches I've ever seen in one division ever, with Andy Reid and Sean Payton, Jim Harbaugh, and now Pete Carroll. I mean, that is top-notch from top down. Top-notch. But the Raiders did something last week that surprised everyone. They decided to cut Christian Wilkins, who they had just signed to a big, fat extension last year, like huge money. Last offseason, Wilkins signed a 4-year, $110 million extension, including $84.75 million of guaranteed money with Vegas. He spent the previous 5 seasons with the Dolphins, where he posted a career-best 9 sacks in 2023. Now, because of injury, he collected 17 tackles, 2 sacks, and 6 quarterback hits in just 5 games last year, before undergoing season-ending surgery for a Jones fracture in his foot. Well, that's not the end of the story. Adam Schefter's reporting Christian Wilkins, who was released by the Raiders Thursday, kissed a fellow player on the head, and the teammate took offense to it. The incident, according to Schefter, was not the sole reason Wilkins was cut. Wilkins has been recovering from a Jones fracture, which he suffered last October. And then according to Schefter, because of how Wilkins has treated the rehab from his injury, the Raiders voided the remaining $35.2 million of guaranteed money left on his contract June 4th. He was released with the designation of terminated vested veteran. Wilkins asked the NFL Players Association to file a grievance on his behalf, and the union did so on Thursday. Now, this kissing incident, according to Schefter, last week's incident happened inside a team meeting room. One source told ESPN that the interaction was, quote, playful, but the teammate did not see it that way. It's not known what the fellow player did following the incident. A complaint was filed to the Raiders' Human Resources Department, which investigated the incident, according to Schefter. That's incredible. The Raiders, through a team spokesperson, declined to comment. Well, I'm sure they did. It's hard to come up with the words to describe a player trying to kiss another player on the head and that player filing a grievance with HR. Now, for you guys out there, do you have any friends that try to kiss you? And I'm not even joking. Like, everyone's got their different thing going on, right? Fist bump. Some guys only like to fist bump. Some guys like to shake hands. Some guys like to hug. And I have a former boss who I'm still good friends with to this day. And he's, older than I am, probably about 20 years older. But every time I see him, he grabs me, pulls me in, and gives me a kiss on the cheek. Now, do I find that a little bit weird? Yeah. Yeah, it's a little bit weird. I don't have a lot of dudes who try to plant kisses on my cheek, but he's been doing it for so long that it's just the way it is. What am I going to do? Tell him no? Sir, please don't kiss me. I guess I could. It doesn't bother me. But the weird part is, can you imagine on a football team going to HR and filing a complaint against a teammate? How would that go? How does that play in the locker room? And not only that, but if a man the size of Christian Wilkins wants to kiss you, what do you do? I don't know. This is very interesting to me. But the Raiders, and trying to withhold that $35.2 million of guaranteed money, good luck with that. Because according to what I've read and from what I can read on the situation, He had the surgery following the Jones fracture after that game against the Broncos last October. Now, this is where it gets tricky between team and players, and we see this across all of sport. The Raiders wanted him to have another surgery. And Wilkins is like, nah, I don't think that's the right plan. I'm going to go about it this way with rehab. And the team is frustrated because they've dumped a lot of money into Wilkins and they want him to get the procedure. So in other words, what the Raiders are going to have to prove through this grievance process is that Wilkins, by choosing to go rehab and not surgery, was somehow taking the wrong course. And I'm one of those guys where it comes to players and their bodies and injuries, who am I to tell someone what they need to do? And if you're a player of Wilkins' stature with that type of cache that he's got, he obviously has got his own trainers, his own doctors, and people that he trusts. So I'm going to lean to the player on that and let them determine the pathway of success. What it sounds like, or what it feels like the Raiders are trying to do, is they're trying to find any way they can to get out from underneath that money, because Wilkins has not been productive. And unfortunately, in the NFL, when you get hurt and you're no longer available to play, teams have to find a way to replace you, and therefore they don't want to pay the money that's owed to you on your contract. But again, this is why players and NFL players have been fighting their asses off to get guaranteed money. For injuries like this with the Jones fracture, that's a tricky, tricky rehab process. I guess what I'm trying to say is that I don't believe the Raiders are going to win that grievance. They're going to have a hard time proving that somehow the pathway that Wilkins is chosen to take and not getting the surgery is somehow detrimental to his rehab and return. And I just don't think they're going to be able to prove it. But I see him working. You know, Pete Carroll comes in. He didn't have anything to do with Wilkins. Probably doesn't like the extension. They're probably trying to clean up the books because they want to win right away. So they're trying to be a little bit sneaky here. Now, according to the reports I've read, the kiss was not the sole reason for his dismissal. Can you imagine kissing a coworker on the head? Hey, Brendan, good job. Come here. Like the Godfather, give you the kiss of approval. I still give my dad a kiss on the cheek once in a while. Maybe I should ask him if that's appropriate or not. Maybe my dad feels uncomfortable when I decide to kiss him on the cheek.
I mean, how do you think that went down in the locker room, Chad? Just like casually just coming over and like giving the dude a kiss on the cheek, or he's like, oh yeah, I'm gonna come over here and give you a kiss. I mean, it's just like my mind is like just racing with how that went down.
Well, according to reports, it was playful. My guess is because Wilkins is so big, he probably held the guy and kissed him on the head against his will.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, he's a big human.
He's a huge guy, big and strong. Much like my brother used to get on top of me and hold me down and then dangled a loogie out of his mouth to see how far it could go down before it broke loose.
To an extent, there's always like some boys be boys stuff. I remember like my brother and I would, team up on younger brothers sometimes. But like, and dare I even say, Chad, like, I don't want to say like locker room talk, but like things happen in a locker room that like are in a locker room that I'm not trying to, take a stance on this, but it just seems a little interesting to me because a lot of things, like you said earlier, go on in the locker room.
Yeah, we did some crazy stuff. I remember one time this guy, Quinn Draper, fell asleep. We had a bunch of guys over at the house. Let's just say he got the icy hot on the satch.
Oh, man. I think I've partaken in covering somebody in shaving cream when they've been asleep, but I think that's the furthest I've gone with that. Icy hot, that's a level, man.
There are a few times in my life I've laughed harder than when he woke up screaming and then was running his satch underneath the sink water, trying to cool it off because it was burning. Now, I look back now and I'm like, that was ridiculous. How could we do such a thing? But back then it was like, it just seemed like the right thing to do. Maybe we should have just kissed him on the head and gotten Christian Wilkins. All right, when we come back, we'll go inside Broncos camp, and we'll get the latest on Bo Nix, on Evan Ingram, on Cortland Sutton, on the division that features 4 great coaches. Ryan Edwards, 850 KOA, is up next to talk some football. All right, football camps are up and running, and joining us right now to focus in on the Broncos for a bit is our good friend from 850 KOA, Ryan Edwards, who is back. Ryan, good afternoon, man. Thanks for the time, buddy.
Yeah, great to be here, man. Thanks.
Oh, there's so many great things to talk about right now. First off, the Broncos got a new extension done with Cortland Sutton, their top wideout, which brings a lot of help for Bo Nix. Did you expect this to get done, and what's Cortland's response?
Yeah, I did, and I mean, it made a lot of sense. I guess if you just sort of read the situation, Cortland Sutton, unlike Terry McLaurin, unlike a lot of players that tend to sort of hold out or even hold in, he was present for everything, all OTAs, mandatory minicamp. I guess his version of a hold in was that he wasn't doing team and 7-on-7 consistently every single day, but he was there for individual drills. He seemingly was in great spirits about almost everything throughout the process, saying that he thought something would get done. Today we heard from Sean Payton as he was asked about Cortland Sutton. He basically said, hey, a deal's about to be done. And, of course, once the coach announces that, you know it's going to happen. So 4 years, $92 million, $41 million guaranteed. I think it's a win really for both sides because as we talked about most of this offseason, we wondered if he'd try push to be that $25 million range, maybe even north of that, especially after T. Higgins got paid, I think around 28. But then to get him done at 23, I think is really good for really all sides. I think it's around 16th or 18th total value there. So it's a really good deal for both sides, and I think he's going to be happy, and the team is definitely happy.
That's great. Ryan, I heard both Sean Payton and Bo discuss this recently where going from year one into year two, you know, for Bo Nix, having a better understanding of the playbook, the personnel, what they're trying to accomplish on offense, so that now when he gets up at the line of scrimmage, he's able to get out of the huddle sooner, which gives him more time to assess what the defense is doing, and they can be more creative and more active in attacking the defense. And, of course, you get the football out on time and on target. What have you seen through camp thus far that would lead you to believe that process is taking place?
I mean, it sure looks like that, right? I mean, we saw that even in OTAs and mandatory minicamp, first portions here of training camp. It just looks like it's a lot slower for him as far as the processes go. Last year, it looked like a rookie. You looked like a guy experiencing the system for the first time. This year, he looks like he's confident and he knows where the ball is supposed to go. And, of course, this is a very good defense, so that's going to challenge him. There's some times when they get defensive pressure on him, but he doesn't look like, as we've often seen young players, rookies especially, when they don't know what to do with the ball, there's this like sort of panic scramble. I'll see if I can, make some magic happen. That's not really happening right now. I mean, yeah, there's some scramble moments, but he seems pretty calm throughout the entire process. He's putting the ball right on the money. I mean, again, he's going to have some mistakes. It's part of the league, right? But I think that what we're seeing so far is a guy that is kind of elevating to another level. Now we'll see what happens when you actually get into games, but so far we've really liked what we've seen.
How would you describe Bo Nix after covering him now for a full season? Your take on him?
Yeah, I mean, he's just really even, right? Really consistent guy. A lot of the players really laud him for his leadership, and I think that it's just one of those deals. Like he has kind of a quiet intensity to him, but it's something that you can relate to rather than overwhelms you, if that makes sense. And I remember my first chance to get to meet him at the NFL Combine last year. I thought his intensity was kind of a bit of a turnoff, actually. I thought it was like, okay, man, you're like, we get it. You've played a lot of college football and you're about this life, and that's great, but that doesn't necessarily mean you're going to be a good quarterback. But I think that his leadership mixed with the fact that he's able to pick things up as fast as he does and doesn't really create the same mistakes often, I think that's kind of been a nice, sort of change of pace, I think, for everybody out there and part of the culture that Sean Payton is trying to build. He puts a lot on the quarterback, and the fact that Bo Nix has been able to absorb that, those guys notice it, and really both sides of the ball have been feeding off of it. So I've been really impressed with the way he's carried himself, and I know they are impressed with that as well.
All right, one of their big additions in free agency was Evan Ingram. He's going to play the joker position in Sean Payton's offense. So two questions for you. What is the joker position exactly, and how has Evan Ingram looked thus far?
Evan Ingram has been phenomenal. I've been very impressed, very smooth in and out of his breaks. He's exactly what this offense has needed, but they definitely needed last year. They needed kind of, you saw with Jaden Daniels had Zach Ertz, kind of an easy button. Hey, we need third and medium. We need to complete these passes, these yards. We need to be able to stay on the field, and Evan Ingram certainly allows that. He was that way for Trevor Lawrence. He was that way at times there for the New York Giants. The joker position is just kind of a mismatch, right? So you're just looking to move him around the formation and get him in position where you like it's an advantageous matchup. And oftentimes the tight end and sometimes running backs can be that, right? But, you think about, hey, Evan Ingram versus a safety or Evan Ingram versus a linebacker. You like that because he's a very good route runner. Like I said, he looks more like a big slot. He's a big receiver. So if you get a chance to move him in position where you can find that mismatch, then the Broncos can sort of take advantage of that. But so far he's been great. Today he had like 3 or 4 catches out there during the 2 team periods, and it's just something that's just going to continue to build.
That's terrific. I had a chance to see R.J. Harvey play live in college last year down at Arizona State. I was impressed with his quad size. It's incredible, his body and the way he looks in the NFL. But how's he been in pads? Can you see the speed? Can you see his desire to run between the tackles? What do you notice so far?
Yeah, the quads were something we noticed right away during OTAs when they're it's pretty ridiculous. He's been great. I mean, today was the first day in pads, so first opportunity really to see what the running game might look like, and I thought he looked fantastic. But again, want to see what happens in the game, but I liked what I saw. He found some natural cutback lanes when they were running some of that outside zone, and when he got a chance to bounce it outside, I mean, he turned the corner quickly and got sort of to the next level in a hurry, and that was something really encouraging to see. The Broncos' run game, as you watched last year, it was just not really anything exciting. It certainly didn't help their rookie quarterback. The Broncos, they know that. They knew that they needed to make a heavy investment, and that's why they brought in him and J.K. Dobbins. Those are going to be your top 2 guys. I'd say Dobbins first and then Harvey, but it'll be by committee. And so far, like I said, today was a good day for the run game. First time we got a chance to see it with the pads on, and I think he has a chance to be really special.
One of my favorite signings that they had during the offseason was Dre Greenlaw because of the need they've had at inside linebacker for so long. How has Greenlaw looked thus far?
It looks really good. Today he was a little out of breath as they were out there in pads, and if you're at altitude here, that's part of the deal. But it was funny because he is a thumper, and he covers sideline to sideline in a hurry. He looks like he's healthy as far as his legs and everything of that nature. But he's got to get up to speed with his lungs and everything with conditioning at altitude. But otherwise, we really like him. Guys laud him for his leadership. He certainly upgraded their inside linebackers, and they really need it too because they just lost one of their guys in Drew Sanders on Saturday. He's going to be out probably a couple months. And then Alex Singleton broke his thumb today, so he's going to be out for a little bit too. But otherwise, Dre Greenlaw, they brought back Justin Sternad, who played not only special teams but also played some starting inside linebacker. And then they have a young guy in Lavelle Bailey who's really been impressive too. So they'll be okay there. But, a couple of inside linebackers going down early is one of the big conversations out here in Denver.
Who's a player that maybe we don't know about that's jumped out at you that you've noticed through practice?
Player you don't know about? Lavelle Bailey would have been a guy because he got an interception on the first day of training camp and then had a nice PBU. I'd say, Chris Abrams-Drain I really like a lot. He's a draft pick last year. He's a cornerback. I mean, I think a lot of the discussion tends to be, of course, around the defensive player of the year and Pat Surtain. They drafted Jahdae Barron in the first round. You got Riley Moss. You already have some pretty good cornerbacks, but Chris Abrams-Drain, I think, is really cementing himself into a little bit bigger role than probably is being advertised. Very instinctual, very fast corner. He can play inside and out. He had 2 PBUs on Saturday's practice. I like I said, it's not to say that he's going to push for starter snaps, but it's a good position to have a lot of depth at, as we know in the NFL. And if something were to happen to any of those other guys, I think he gets an opportunity to jump right in there.
Hey, Ryan, you've been covering the NFL for a long time. Do you recall a division that had better coaching than the AFC West now with Pete Carroll, Sean Payton, Jim Harbaugh, and Andy Reid?
It's a wealth of experience. No, I don't. Not like that. I do think that, each division has kind of an argument to have. The AFC North is still very strong, right, with Harbaugh and Tomlin. But you think once they added Carroll to this division, it's just kind of like, all right, well, this is a little ridiculous. I mean, there's something to say about an arms race, and then you get to another level where you're saying, okay, well, now it's more than just to have great quarterbacks in the division. Now we want to have the great coaches, and we're talking about kind of Hall of Fame caliber coaches. I mean, maybe it's going to be a bit for Jim Harbaugh, right? But he just won a national championship a couple of years ago. Pete Carroll's won a championship. Sean Payton's won a championship, and Reed with 3. So, it's kind of a ridiculous division for a multitude of reasons, but it didn't get any easier with the addition of Carroll to the Raiders. But I guess the good thing is if you can somehow survive it and come out of this division, you're certainly going to be tested, and you'll feel like you're in pretty good position for the postseason run.
We're talking with Ryan Edwards from 850 KOA in Denver. I've got a couple more questions for you. Christian Wilkins, the Raiders are trying to hold back $35 million in guaranteed money based on the fact that he's not going about the rehab process the way they wanted. He has filed a grievance. Do you have any intel on this? Do the Raiders have a case here, or are they going to be hard-pressed to prove that?
Yeah, I don't think they're going to be able to do this. I mean, maybe they feel like they've got enough there, but that's a lot of money to withhold. We've seen grievances like this before, but not to this magnitude. I know Jawan James here in Denver was one a few years ago because it was $10 million that he was owed, but he worked out outside of the facility, and that's how they were able to hold that against him. I think they ended up settling anyways, which will probably be the case here with Wilkins.
Yeah.
There was some weird stuff going around today about him trying to kiss a player or something like that, and I mean, I don't know. It's getting really weird, but I feel like we're just sort of scratching the surface on the reasoning that the Raiders have for doing what they did. But in the end, I think, like we all assume, they'll probably end up settling.
All right, one basketball question. The Nuggets, I love their offseason, Ryan. I mean, I put them right up there with Houston in terms of a team that went out and made moves that are going to make them a better basketball team. Do you like where they're at right now?
Yeah, I really do. And, I mean, again, the Valanciunas thing was for me like the chef's kiss,
Huge.
Right? I mean, you've needed a true center to back up Joker, and that was our biggest complaint last year is just how many minutes this dude was playing. I mean, unbelievable, Star Wars kinds of numbers where he's averaging a triple-double as a center for the entirety of the season, but it was going to catch up to him. And they took OKC to 7, but they were certainly on fumes at that point, and you knew they weren't going to get through that game 7 either way. But I mean, adding Valanciunas was really impressive. I mean, Bruce Brown coming back, of course, is great nostalgia for the fans. I think he's still going to have some value. Tim Hardaway's also, they need a sharpshooter from beyond the arc, so that sort of solves that as well. I have a hard time complaining about really anything they've done. And I got to imagine, on a side note, Michael Malone gets fired, but one of the things he was pushing for so long was to add more veteran help. And, of course, as soon as he gets fired, they add a bunch of vets that could really help out this team. So I think that's kind of ironic, but here we are. I'm excited about this upcoming season for sure.
No, you should be. Yeah, it's going to be awesome. Jokic was incredible last year, his stamina and the way he played. Now, after, I don't know, maybe a big segment or a post-game rap, has Benjamin Albright ever tried to kiss you on the head in celebration?
If he did, then I've blacked it out. Like I've totally wiped that from my memory.
Yeah.
But no, Ben is. I don't usually let him in the studio after a game, so because he's been having too much fun. But no, it's that's a weird thing to think about now. You basically gave me nightmares. Thank you.
Yeah, that's my bad. You can follow him on social at R Edwards Radio. He's with 850 KOA in Denver, one of our sister stations. Ryan, as always, man, I appreciate it. Enjoy covering camp, and we'll catch up soon. Thank you.
All right, thanks, brother. Appreciate you.
There you go. There it is. Ryan Edwards, 850 KOA. Yeah, who was it? Was it Nick Wright? Oh, yeah, 3 teams are going to make the playoffs from the AFC West, but the Broncos aren't one of them. He can suck it, all right? The Broncos are going to the postseason. The question is, will they win the division or not? There's no way on God's green earth that the Raiders are going to finish with a better record than the Broncos. It's not happening. It's not happening. I did like the Nuggets offseason too. But Bo Nix, the Broncos are in a great window right now where starting right now and over the next 3 to 4 years, they're going to have a Super Bowl window. And I'm sure you are aware of this, but I'm very happy about that. Very happy about that because they're not paying Bo anything, and they're loaded up on defense. Their defense is going to be super legit. Super legit. The defense is for real. They're going to bring pressure. They're going to stop the run. They're going to be a problem. And now you have a quarterback behind an offensive line that comes back intact, all 5 guys. They should be able to run the football better than last year, which isn't saying much. And then Bo Nix, the key is his Bo. Understanding the offense, getting up to the line, and getting rid of the football quick. On time, on target. The most important thing for a quarterback, on time, on target. Can you do that? And going back to Aaron Rodgers and the criticism of Terry Bradshaw, I think it was Mark Schlereth was talking about getting, he's on one of the Fox teams that covers the games. He got Rodgers later in the season last year. Maybe it was against Carolina. I can't remember the game. I think it was Carolina. But he said that Rodgers, all the study he did on film and what he saw from Rodgers, elite stuff. I still think Aaron can play, not at the MVP level because he's in a different stage in his career physically, but the arm talent's still there. The decision-making is still there. Getting your team in the right play and making good decisions, that's all there. On time, on target. That's what it's all about. That's how Brock Purdy got himself paid. He gets the ball out on time, on target. Probably not the quarterback you want in the fourth quarter when you're trying to come from behind, but on time and accurate. That's really what it comes down to. It's the most important thing. Very excited about football season. Pretty excited. Now, Brendan, do you have an NFL team that you follow or not really? Because you're so knee-deep into the college stuff.
Yeah, pretty knee-deep into college. I kind of just root for my fantasy team in a given year. I like players like, I like Patrick Mahomes. I like I root for players, I should say, is the simple answer to that.
All right. Dame Goat Cheese just hit me up and said, a guy once got in my friend's face to try and intimidate him, and my friend kissed him on the forehead to throw him off. The guy was shocked, didn't know what to do. Well,
so next time you're in a knockout, drag-out argument with somebody, Chad, just pop him a kiss on the forehead, and we should be good to go?
Yeah.
I'll let you know if I try that.
I told my buddy Glenn on the golf course, they had a long putt. I said, if you make the putt, I will kiss you. He missed the putt, and it might have been on purpose. That would throw someone off. If you're, irritated, when you're mad and you're trying to get your point across and someone just reaches out and kisses you, it'd be like, wait, what? What just happened here? What's going on? Why'd you do that? I just want the details on the Christian Wilkins thing. How did the kiss go down? Why was the guy offended? How did the conversation go with HR? Yeah, Christian Wilkins, he kissed me. Huh? All right. 503-248-0620. Big thanks to Ryan Edwards, also Tyrese Smith. We will have the Messiah of college football, Phil Steele, on the program on Wednesday. Always look forward to that conversation. Hope you're enjoying your Monday afternoon in the sunshine. You got the Rip City Drive with Chad doing on your home of the Blazers, 620 Rip City Radio. All right, just over the last hour, an active shooter situation at an office building in Midtown Manhattan. The shooter was at 345 Park Avenue, where the NFL headquarters is located. That, according to NBC News 4, one police officer and one civilian shot. Wow. Also from Jeff Darlington, I'm told NFL employees at 345 Park Avenue have been told to shelter in place after reports of gunfire nearby. An NFL security alert was sent to employees, quote, do not exit the building, secure your location, and hide until law enforcement clears your floor. Please switch phones to silent. And Eric Adams, the mayor, New Yorkers, there is an active shooter investigation taking place in Midtown right now. Please take proper safety precautions if you are in the vicinity, and do not go outside if you are near Park Avenue and East 51st Street. All right, let's go out to the phones. Pat in Portland wants to talk Broncos. I'm perfectly okay with that. Pat, welcome to the show, my friend. What's on your mind about the Bronx?
Hey, Chad, welcome back. And I just want to say, I think your team has done a lot of amazing things with the offseason, with the draft. But I just want to say, just remember, I've never been a Raiders fan until this year a little bit because of Pete Carroll and some of the Seahawks players coming over. And I'm hoping the best for him, just to show up the Seahawks. But I think any team can go down, especially depending on injuries. I think injuries will play a big part in both of these teams.
Always
play in the new season. But
well, Pat, I can tell you this: as a Seahawks fan, you know that Pete Carroll is going to turn it around with the Raiders. He's too good.
Oh yeah.
What a hire that was! What a smart hire that was by Mark Davis to bring him in and let him take
over.
Oh,
no doubt. That was excellent.
Were you upset?
But
when
I
the
do
Hawks
have a
got rid of
secondary
Pete?
question.
Yeah, were you upset
What
when
was
the
that?
Hawks got rid of Pete?
I wasn't happy with it. I think it happened a year or two too early, but you know.
Yeah, I understand. What's your other question? What do you got?
Well, I just was wondering, you were looking into doing new programming here, because last week it was airlines with, sexual acts, and now it's football players kissing. I'm just kind of wondering about the format.
No, there's nothing changing with the format. It's just that we are in.
I'm just teasing.
We are in.
I'm teasing.
I know. But first of all, hey, let me ask you a question. Do you have any friends or any relatives, guy friends or relatives, that kiss you on the cheek or the forehead?
No.
Okay.
But I have in the past. A long time ago, I had a guy that was from Ireland that did that, Irishman.
Did you just let him do it? It's like, well, this is the way that's going to be with him.
Well, he was highly intoxicated, so I just took it into, but it was on the forehead, so
Okay.
it was a little weird.
Yeah, no, that's pretty funny. Yeah, that's good. Well, Pat, man, I appreciate it, man. Have fun pulling for. I have that too. When coaches or certain players go to certain places that I like, I'll pull for them at their new team, and I'm excited to see Pete.
But like I said, I'm never have been a Raiders fan. Never. I've always despised them. I didn't like them.
Well, and for good reason. Yeah, we had no reason to, because they were the outlaws of the NFL.
You got it. Yep.
All right, buddy. I
All right,
appreciate
Chad.
it.
Thank you.
You got it. There's Pat. That's true. We're in that time of year right now where it's like, basketball season's over. Football camps have just started. We're waiting for college football season to begin. It's dead. It's the dead time of the year in sports. That's how stories like Christian Wilkins kissing a guy in the dome make such a big story. I am fascinated by locker room dynamics, because I worked with Lo Neal for an extended period of time, and so he would give me all the details. That's when I realized I didn't know as much about the game as I thought I knew about the game. Like, you think you know, and then you talk to an actual professional athlete, and you realize that things are totally different. Fascinating. Like when Marty Schottenheimer was fired by the Chargers after going like 14-2, they hired Norv Turner, the former, offensive coordinator with the Cowboys, who did really well with Troy Aikman and Emmitt Smith and Michael Irvin. I think I could draw up plays for that group probably. But Norv Turner came in and Low Neal blocked for LaDainian Tomlinson, one of the greatest backs of all time. He said that Norv wanted to meet with him and Tomlinson because he wanted to sit down with them and kind of give them a chance to talk and share his vision. And he said when he sat down with Norv after Marty had been fired, and Norv looked at them in the eye and said, I am committed to running the football, he knew that they were screwed because Marty was a run-first coach, which was great and makes a lot of sense when you got LaDainian Tomlinson. But Norvell wanted to throw the football. He also said that Marty, when they would have team functions, only players and their wives were allowed to come, no girlfriends, because he knew of some of the drama that could be brought into those type of situations. He said that in the mornings before practice got underway, that players would all head towards the sauna. Like the sauna was a big, big deal before the coaches and everyone showed up for practice during the season, because that's where players went to detox their systems from the night before. And Low Neal actually had a great idea once. He tried to get this in place, but I think there was some blockage from the NFL. The NFL actually has a phone number that you can call. All players have access to it. So if you're like out in the town and you've had a couple of pops, maybe you're tying one on, they have a phone number you can call, and a car will come and pick you up and take you to wherever you need to go to prevent bad situations like DUI. But the problem is players, and I can understand this, were concerned about using the NFL's 1-800 number to get a ride because they were afraid that the league would be running a tally on who's utilizing the source or the service, right? So Lowe's like, well, forget that. I'll create my own ride service and offer it to the players. But it pretty much got squashed by the NFL, but a genius idea. Don't worry, boys. Call this number, no questions asked. The car will take you wherever you need to go. And he tried to get that set up, which is genius. But the players are like, I'm not calling the league's number. Are you kidding me? Why? So they can monitor all my behavior and activities? Especially with Commissioner Goodell. They probably have the car bugged and secret cameras in there. All right, big thanks to all of you. Ryan Edwards from 850 KOA. Tyree Smith from K2, Brendan Slaughter. We're going to be back tomorrow. Dave Deckard will join me at 3:20 for sure. We've got Phil Steele coming up on Wednesday. You guys have a good night, and we'll talk to you tomorrow at 3 here on the Rip City Drive.